So is Mulan just another remake? Hello everyone and welcome to Movie Reviews by Josh. My name is Josh Terry and today I'm going to be talking about Mulan. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about the new Mulan, which is a live-action remake of the animated feature from Disney from back in the late 1990s. Now if you're familiar with that movie, you're going to be really familiar with this one because most of the plot is pretty much consistent, except now it's live action and it's a little bit longer. It's almost 2 hours long instead of about an hour and a half. Mulan, the title character, is a Chinese woman from a small village who gets drafted into war, or rather doesn't really get drafted. She winds up taking her father's place because he was drafted, and so she has to disguise her gender and pretend to be a man while she goes off and fights an invading force and becomes a hero. She's played by a Chinese actress named Yifei and does a great job, and she begins the movie at the same place that things started out at the beginning of the animated movie. She's kind of living a traditional life as a woman, even though she has a lot of battle skills and some real gifts, almost kind of superpowers, if I'm being honest. And in spite of that, her family's preparing her to meet with a matchmaker, intends for her to get married and to live kind of a more traditional domestic life. War comes, the emperor demands that every family provide one man from the household to go off and fight, but her father is old and he's almost literally on his last leg, and so Mulan decides to take his place in disguise. So that's pretty much the fundamentals of it, and again, like I said, if you've seen the first movie, this one is not going to bring a whole lot of surprises in terms of the plot. Certain characters have been de-emphasized, certain other characters have been created, and like I say, it's longer because there's some more character development and there's certainly more elaborate scenes. This is a beautiful movie to watch. In fact, being totally candid, I had never actually seen the original Mulan until I did this review. I actually watched the original one first to kind of get an idea of what to expect and then to be able to compare it and see what was different, just aside from the animation to the live action format. And after having done so, my reaction is I really enjoyed the new version. The original animated version, it was nice, it was fine, it has a good message and it has some really nice elements. In spite of not being CGI and all that kind of thing, the 2D cell animation has some really great moments. But where that original version is more of your traditional 1990s Disney musical, complete with goofy animated characters. Eddie Murphy plays this kind of exiled dragon guardian character who's supposed to help Mulan accomplish her goal. They really don't have that in the new movie. There is an element of that, but it's very different. It's not played for laughs at all. And the new movie is not a musical. The new movie seems to me like much more of an echo of a lot of the martial arts movies that I saw in the 2000s, kind of the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Hero, some of these other movies. It's still, it's a very family-friendly film. There's a lot more violence in terms of battles because it's real people, but it's not bloody or gory or anything, and it's still being aimed at a family audience. Although I would tend to say that, not being a small child, I can't say it for sure, but my guess is that little kids are still going to prefer the original animated version, which is a lot more fun and kind of silly, and like I said, it's got the music and the songs, whereas the new one I think is going to be most appreciated by either adults or fans of Disney who enjoyed the original and want to see something a little bit new. Like I said, in terms of strengths, the new movie it looks gorgeous. It really is just a spectacular looking film. The performances are great. Donnie is in there. You might recognize him from the Ip Man movies or from playing the pseudo-blind Jedi from Rogue One. So there's some really good elements. Now, I have to say that there's one thing that didn't bother me nearly as much in the original, but I think becomes a real problem in this new remake, which is the idea of Mulan disguising herself as a boy. Because where in the animated version you can kind of brush over it, it's a little too obvious in this new live action version that she's a woman and it's just there. I mean, the suspension of disbelief is a lot harder to pull off. I think that given the level of magic and the supernatural element of the movie that is apparent elsewhere, such as in kind of these guardian characters and some of the skills and the acrobatics and talents. Like I said, they almost border on superpowers. And I think with that in place, it would have been very easy to have added just some kind of an element that would suggest that she was being assisted in her disguise, so it wasn't obvious to all of her fellow soldiers and superior officers that she was female, because it's just too obvious. And if you're paying attention to it at all, it doesn't quite click. And so for me, that kind of knocks it down a little bit, but it's really about the only thing I would say that does knock the movie down. It is more adult than the first one. Like I say, I think that the first one is still going to be preferred by younger audiences, although this one is still a family-friendly, kind of PG level movie with some action violence, but nothing particularly graphic. There's a little bit of out of focus, distant nudity from the back that's also kind of covered by leaves and trees when Mulan finally has to go and bathe, which honestly could have been cut out, but we're still kind of in PG-13 range, and so parents, you might want to make the decisions accordingly. Overall, I think I would give it a solid 3 stars out of 4. I would, definitely recommend it for Disney fans who are fans of Mulan. I enjoyed it more than the original, but again, I'm an adult and I'm not particularly into the Disney musicals the way that a lot of people are. And so to answer my earlier question, at least in the context of Disney, which we've seen a lot of remakes from over the last several years, a lot of times these remakes have really just been put out, it seems, to not just cash in, although money was clearly a motivating factor. It does feel like a lot of times they're just kind of saying, well, now we can do this with CGI. The Lion King, I think, is kind of the most egregious violator here, because it really was just beat for beat the exact same movie, just with different animation. Mulan is not just another remake. It is definitely a remake, and it has a lot of similarities, and it doesn't change a whole lot. It doesn't really, reinvent anything, but it's a different movie. It's a very different feel, very different tone, and I think that it will feel worthwhile to those of us who take the time to see it on Disney Plus exclusively. So how do you feel about the Disney remakes? Give me your answer in the comments below. So thanks again. This has been Movie Reviews by Josh. My name is Josh Terry. I'd love it if you'd subscribe on your way out and keep your notifications on so you can see our new videos as soon as they're ready. Take care.